We are Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are conducting life-changing research that solves the problems of today. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
Welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. Now we're going to do things a little different. We are going to provide an honest look at Ole Miss athletics for the fan, by the fan, and of the fan. That is what we do. Hell be to me. I'm just kidding. Tune in for some Ole Miss sports news. We're going to give it to you straight. Yeah, right now. The POMcast starts now. It happens now. Holy cow. Listen to me. It's starting. Well, it's going to start right about now. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the POMcast. I am your host on this magical mystery tour we call Ole Miss Fandom, Stephen Willis. Thank you very much and happy Name, Image, and Likeness Day. We're going to do basically a whole show about what this is, what this means, where this could go. We're just going to talk off and on for about 20-25 minutes about it. So I hope you tune in for that. Tomorrow, we're planning on doing a little bit of an interview piece, like a press conference highlights type deal, to the Rebel Olympians before they head off to Japan. So I think there's 4 of them that are going to be participating in the Olympics in Tokyo. Anyway, if you want to watch the show, you can catch us on Twitter at The Stephen Willis or at The Rebel Walk. Facebook, you can catch us at facebook.com/POMcast. That's POMcast. Or facebook.com/The Rebel Walk. Follow us, like us over there. You'll know that we're streaming and you'll know what we're streaming about. It'll allow for notifications if you follow us. We're on YouTube at Positively Ole Miss. Hit the bell, subscribe as well. You'll not only know that we're streaming, you'll know what we're streaming about. It is probably a beneficial tool for you to know that because this notification comes to the front of your phone. It'll tell it all and you can decide right then what you want to do. And we're also on Twitch at Positively Ole Miss, all one word. As far as podcasting, audio, we don't really push it out much, but we want to have it just so you can have it. You can check us out at Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and Pandora. So that's all of that. Thank you very much. Again, my name is Stephen Willis, and it's Name, Image, and Likeness Day. There's athletes all over that sign deals at midnight. The company College Hunks Hauling Junk signed De'Aaron King for $20,000 at midnight. And a whole bunch of people just assumed that they could go in at midnight and it was a really cool different thing, but it turns out just about everybody did that. There's even the website Yoke, which is a video game playing app. You can play a game with an actual athlete or something like that. Matt Corral, $10,000 to get in and do that. And it honestly, that might be underpriced. So that is that. Before we get started, also, I do want to congratulate everybody that's listening to the show right now. We came about 250 views short of 50,000 for the month of June. And that was with athletics stopping right about June 12th, June 13th, somewhere in there. So half the month with no start. We were in list season. We were in the doldrums of college football. And during that time, 3,000 view videos. It's fantastic on your part. Thank you very much for doing that. And we'll try to keep the program up. We're working on, I know I keep saying this over and over, but due to technological issues, I have to keep saying over and over, we're working on a recruiting show with Leanne Herring. Hopefully we'll have that. I'm doing a test with that later today. I've got a preview coming up that should be first thing Monday morning with the Arkansas Razorbacks on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Kevin's coming on the podcast today. He should, we're recording close to 2 o'clock Central. And tomorrow, the best uniforms in Ole Miss football history. And this is my list. If you have any suggestions on it, you can fill them out in the comments below and let us know. Hit us up on Twitter, hit us up on Facebook, and all that. We're going to, over the coming month, we're going to open up the chat window so you can participate a little bit in the show. We're going to add a little bit of that. We're going to do that. So it's going to be a good bit of fun. Also next week, the first SEC After Dark is going to air with Corey Burton. We're still waiting on Jeb. Jeb still has to move down here. He probably won't be here until mid-August, but we'll get him all set up and have a 3-person pod coming at you called Ole Miss SEC After Dark. We're also going to have Beast of the East. That one doesn't involve me, but it's going to appear on my channel for all the Eastern Division football news that you can stand. So anything Georgia, anything Florida, anything South Carolina is going to be right there. And we're also trying to put together a Best of the West, also without me, but it's going to appear on my channel. That's going to be the Western equivalent of that show. So SEC After Dark, Beast of the East, Best of the West, and then all of this stuff on Positively Ole Miss. So it should be a pretty good move forward into the fall. And we're also going to have things like we have, I'm calling it Monday morning quarterback, but I don't mean it to be anything derogatory by doing that. It's just a name in general. Come on Mondays. We're going to have previews for each game. We're going to have a reaction show after every game. We're going to have, like I said, the quarterback show. We're going to start doing the recruiting show. It's going to be a situation where every day you can pop on to Positively Ole Miss or the Rebel Walk and catch 10, 15 minutes of video, and then you're done. You're completely informed and you're ready to move on about your day, and you don't have to invest a huge amount of time into getting information. It's going to open up your world quite a bunch. I mean, I used to do the 24/7 Rivals and all that, subscribe to the site, and the one thing you notice after you quit doing it is how much time you have available. So we want to make this as concise and as efficient as possible. The longer form shows will be the Beast of the East, the Best of the West, the SEC After Dark, just because of the subject matter. POMcast is going to continue to be about 30 minutes, but you'll see these reaction and preview shows. They're going to be 10 to 20 minutes long. That's what we're shooting for. That's the ballpark. And the reason, I'll say this again if you haven't followed it, the reason is when I worked in a TV station, they did a study of what was the appropriate length for a program. I mean, it's like if you do a pregame show, do you want a 2 or 3 hour pregame show? Or do you want a 30-minute? Do you want an hour? Where does that land? That's the type of study they did. And they came out at 26 minutes. I know that's basically a 30-minute show. So on top of social media, since all of these videos go to social media, we need to cut that down a little bit more. So my goal is to cut that pretty much in half, about 13 minutes, just to handle the social media. I'm going to keep doing the POMcast at 26 to 30. I'm going to expand out to SEC After Dark to about an hour, Beast of the East about an hour, Best of the West about an hour. So we got a lot of stuff coming to you this fall. I mean, just huge amount of videos. So I'm going to assume that you're going to be the most informed fan if you're watching this out of anybody you know. As Jake Crane says at the J-Boy Show, you'll win the water cooler. I have no doubts about that. So lots of good stuff coming down the pike for this podcast. Even during the doldrums of summer, we were able to put up massive numbers, like 250 video views short of 50,000. It's amazing. Considering in February, which was 5 months ago, we were averaging about 30 views per video on 9 different sources. So that'd be 3 on Twitter. That'd be 3 on YouTube. That'd be 3 on Facebook. It is ludicrous. It's absolutely amazing. And now, these numbers, like every single category that we broadcast in, had at least a 15% growth range over the course of our video. And one of them, the Positively Ole Miss, thank you, like, hit follow, Positively Ole Miss, it went up 57% this month. It's nuts. Absolutely nuts. So anyway, name, image, likeness, before we go too far down that road. Let me first say this. Whoever can do name, image, and likeness, they owe it to themselves to do it. Because of players like Bo Wallace, Chad Kelly, Romero Miller, Deuce McAllister, John Avery, Russ Showles, John Darnell, Matt Luke, who's in the building, Mark Young, Ken Austin, Kelly Powell, John Forcade. It's a pretty decent list going back from like Showles back in time, yeah. You owe it to yourselves to be able to monetize this because they couldn't. They couldn't monetize being the most popular player on the team. They just could not do that. Can you imagine how much money and endorsements Chad Kelly would have been able to make? Can you imagine how much money after that Alabama series Bo Wallace would have been able to do? Can you imagine him endorsing a car lot somewhere? Somebody willing to do that? Can you imagine like Patrick Willis back in 2006, 2005, what he would be able to pull in whenever he was so possible, especially with the club? I can see like the car ads with the club hanging in the air right now. So it's important to these guys to take advantage, full advantage, of what's going to be like cutting on a fire hose right now at the beginning of it. No, it's all going to settle down. It's not going to be like this forever. But anytime something like this happens, it's like a fire hose effect. And people want to get their hands around it. We're not participating right now in the name, image, and likeness game. We are considering it for the future. And the way that we're looking at doing it is, let's say you own a car lot, right? And you're interested in name, image, and likeness. We would help you out, basically. But we would pay the name, image, and likeness fee to do it. We wouldn't do anything shady. We wouldn't break any rules. But, that's something I'm thinking about at the moment. But may not anything come of it, but it's just, every possibility you think of. Because in a situation where the fire hose gets opened, it's going to lead to possibilities. Also, by the way, just changing the subject, it's not really name, image, and likeness. I'm working on getting you guys a hookup locally in Central Florida, for Disney, for Universal, for SeaWorld, for Busch Gardens, for cruises, all that stuff in Florida. I'm looking at getting you guys a hookup, so you don't have to worry back home when you're planning a vacation. Well, what do we need to do here? What do we need to do there? These people will take care of that. So once it gets finalized, which I'm hoping it does soon, we'll get that up for you and maybe even get them on the show to talk about it and what you need to do. So that's going to be pretty cool. But when it comes to name, image, and likeness, you are basically, what's the word I'm looking for? You need to avoid being pigeonholed. I mean, so many people like Cameo and doing all that stuff like that. There's going to be people that do live music shows because they're talented. Did you know John Rice Plumlee plays the piano? Just kidding. There's any different ways. There could be football camps if somebody wants to do it. Now, I am confused. One thing I am confused about this name, image, and likeness, and because, like I said, it's like a fire hose at the moment. Are there people putting these together? Is it okay to get somebody to put these together? Because if you are getting paid for doing stuff, I don't see why you can't hire somebody to handle those endorsements and all that behind the scenes. I know that's the word agent is a bad word, but in this case, it would be absolutely relevant. I don't know. When we come back, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about why small towns might have the advantage over cities when it comes to the game of name, image, and likeness. Stick around and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. I'm here on the POMcast. I'm Stephen Willis. I do want to tell you about the rebelwalk.com. Evelyn and her team do a fantastic job. They provide a subscriber level experience for no money. It's absolutely free. The only thing you have to invest is your time, and boy, oh boy, is it worth it. They have experts for every team. This undoubtedly the largest staff that's covering Ole Miss today, and they just provide good content in a good, fun following way. There's no angst, no anxiety. You can just follow it on your way. So if you have any questions about that, go to therebelwalk.com. That is therebelwalk.com. They'll take care of you. So now that name, image, and likeness is a thing, and hey, being positive, the NCAA video game's coming back. I think the small town schools, the Tuscaloosas, the Auburns, to some extent the Gainesvilles, the Oxfords, the Starkvilles, the Fayettevilles, have the advantage over the Knoxvilles, over the Baton Rouges. College Station, small town as well. And the reason is you grow up with those are the big fish in town. Anytime you're in a small town like that, it's a big deal when you meet a running back on the football team when you see them out. It's not a big deal in Baton Rouge. It's not a big deal in Knoxville. So I believe that small towns have the advantage in the, for lack of a better word, the hero worship of college athletes. I think that people are going to be able to monetize that and be effective monetizing that. That's the important part that people fail to realize. If you are in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, there's not any type of motivation to hire, I don't know, a women's basketball player, unless they're a super special player. This just because they disappear into the background, and it's nothing sexist or anything like that. It's a non-revenue sport, and it's going to disappear into the background, and all of a sudden you're not going to get the bang for the buck in an advertising way that you would say for that same type player in Oxford, Mississippi, in Starkville, Mississippi, where there's not a lot going on. People know in Oxford who the women's basketball players are. They know in Starkville. They know in Tuscaloosa. There's an intrinsic value assigned to that. It's even if it's a little niche, you have to find that niche. But even if it's a little niche, there's a way to monetize that going on. And this is not even counting like if you have other talents like live shows, and maybe you have a podcast that you're putting out on YouTube. Who knows? It's not even counting. This is just counting based off of endorsements. This is based off of your intrinsic value just appearing, just putting your name beside something, which holds more water in small towns than it does in big cities. just because of dilution. There's going to be several people in Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge is right next to New Orleans, and might be better. Like if you're a Tulane guy trying to advertise in New Orleans, yes, there's a ton of businesses, but how valuable is that name? In fact, there are several G5 schools. This is going to be the interesting thing with the one-time transfer fee. If you are a good G5 player, let's say you are with Gus Malzahn at Central Florida, and you're a wide receiver and you have a big year, and you have 2 years left. Now, you can do that in Orlando, which there's advertisements everywhere for Orlando. But what would the Central Florida wide receiver be worth? He's not going to get a Disney World ad. He's not going. There's too many things, too much saturation. But he could go to a place like Oxford, Mississippi, and be the face of Nielsen's, for instance, and there would be some value from that. Both sides would benefit from that happening. And that's the reason I think small towns are going to go past big cities inside the conference, is just because of hero worship and the pure saturation that happens with players. It could be very, very interesting to watch. Like I said, as this fire hose gets going, we're going to get our hands around it. We'll know exactly what is there and what isn't there. And there's going to be players that blow all their money that they get from endorsements. There are going to be players that do a job investing it and set themselves up for life. Like Matt Corral right now. Like I said, I said before, do it for Ramel Miller, do it for Bo Wallace, do it for Paul Head, do it for Josh Nelson, do it for Stuart Patridge. And that popularity that comes from being the top quarterback in the SEC, it can't be understated. Now, like I said, I don't understand what they have, what they can and can't do in regards to agents. I don't understand. In fact, I don't think that law has been written because they're in such a rush to like, hey, everybody has this, because nothing gets done in Washington and everything turns political and it turns into a poo-flinging contest and nothing gets done. That's the way it is right now in Congress. So the NCAA at the last minute had to just say, blanket, even if you don't have law, you can do this just in the name of fairness. So a school in, I don't know if they have a law or not, so excuse me, like Wyoming is playing on the same playing field as Ole Miss when it comes to recruitment of athletes. And because of that, eventually, I think it's going to happen to where there's going to be a little bit of an agent. It might be called something else. I'm just going to call it an agent right now, that can go out for these name, image, and likeness, work for the athlete, and go out and find these endorsements. Like if you're a top-end college athlete, if you're a Matt Corral, if you are a Spencer Rattler, you are a Sam Howell, those guys can go out and get national level endorsements because of basically the cachet that they have. And it's going to be interesting because it is going to create a tier system in college football. But there's a tier system in regards to regular college students. That's the example. People all the time talk about, well, the college athletes, I hope they pay their taxes. That's the same thing that happens whenever a college student's something. I hope they pay their taxes. It's not that big of a deal. That's called being an adult. And I think whenever you do that, you give athletes less credit than they're due. They're smarter than you think. The legend of the dumb jock back in the 50s and 60s and 70s has permeating our thinking to where you're getting a scholarship. Just because you can do one doesn't mean you're bad at the other. There's going to be athletes that are going to be very good at money. There are going to be athletes that are going to play 4 years in college, be really good, and regardless of the NFL, they're going to be set up for life. Just because they are really good at spending their money. They're really good at handling finances. They understand it. So, and that's a big deal because only 1 or 2% go to the NFL. Because no matter what you say, Power 5 college football is a vocational school for the NFL and soon to be the USFL and soon to be the XFL. So there's going to be more jobs available. But that's what it is. It's a VOTEC for football. There's other stuff they have to do. There's other stuff that VOTEC people have to do in regards to a well-rounded education. The fact that they can make a little money and get a little bit of heads up in a field where there's not nearly as many jobs as people that want to do it. It's like 100 times worse than lawyers out there right now. Allows them a little bit of pad. Imagine if Bo Wallace could have done this after the upset of Alabama. He'd have had every endorsement in the state of Mississippi. He would have been set up for years after he graduated. Think of that pad and that comfort level that he could have going into coaching, knowing that while others have to suffer so much, he has that little bit of an advantage of being able to take, oh, I like this system. I want to be a grad assistant there. Instead of being the money being so poor. This name, image, and likeness is a major, major step to rectifying the wrongs that are intrinsically in the NCAA system. Now, when I say that, I'm not saying the NCAA football and college sports is intrinsically bad. No. Just little pieces can get better. There's contextually things can improve. You don't have to go to extreme to where, oh, this thing is bad, so everything is bad. So you don't have to just completely hate on the NCAA. On the other side, just because you like this does not mean you have to like everything. There's so much of this going on right now. So much of this. And it's upsetting. Anyway, I'm going to give you a couple of minutes back. Thank you so much for watching the show today. Tomorrow, like I said, I think we're going to do the Olympic preview and any news that can break overnight. Also, we did learn that the transfer from Missouri has to sit out this year. So I think he's a 3 for 2. I'm not sure. I still haven't heard the terms of his enrollment. So if he's a 3 for 2, that's a hell of an ad, especially in the slot position, him and J.J. Henry. So we will talk about that a little bit maybe tomorrow, and we'll see how that takes us. So until then, hotty toddy.